And there's no parameters to it, right? No one has come out and said, well, these are the safety checks, meaning someone has to have has to have physical sexual change verified by a doctor, right? Someone has to be able to prove, just like a conscientious objector, that they've always had this, and they're not necessarily using the law mandated by the president to abuse it. None of that has been communicated. There's no parameters to it. There's no filters. And then number three, it's like it confuses children. There's no data saying that people are born with an inner disposition or an identity issue where that we can prove conclusively that they are a woman trapped in a man's body. So we have to assume scientifically, and the scientific community takes great pride in objective research, that, you know what, we have to suspend judgment until we can prove through brain research, genetic research, or something that this is possible. Because what this law actually assumes is a religious worldview, that metaphysically and internally one can believe something and it be true even though there's no data to reinforce it, and therefore the law should accommodate it even if it denies other people protections and rights in safe places like the shower or the bathroom.
What do you think would be a good resolution then? I mean, if you do have these kids in school who are, say that they're identifying as the opposite gender, I mean, do you think there should be like private bathrooms? And what do you think should happen? Because, it could be an issue if you have, someone who's born a boy dressed up as a girl still going in the boys' bathroom. That could be confusing too, I would think,
Yeah, but I think, because we live in a country where we have certain rights. You can dress however you want. First of all, I think that schools should have dress codes, right? And that's how it's been historically. Even if the school didn't have uniforms, there was limits, right? Because then if you open up that can of worms, I mean, can girls come to school with bikinis and thongs? I mean, the bottom line is that even though we believe in freedom, we all know that there's limits to our freedom. And those limits are always dependent on how does our behavior affect the majority? How does it affect the flow of life? So obviously you gotta have limits on dress and stuff like that. So I think that there can be some accommodations, such as the third place, which across our nation, most school districts, including conservative school districts, have created third place, which is that private teacher's bathroom or that unisex bathroom that people can go into one at a time. So that's already been there, and obviously no human being wants to restrict someone from using a bathroom. But I think secondly, we need to honor their gender that they were born with, right? It's like, look, we know you internally identify yourself as a woman, as a male, but you have a penis and you have a Y chromosome, a YX chromosome. So we have to base our laws on objectivity, because then it just opens up a can of worms to freedom and discrimination being the catchword that basically says we need to knock down any kind of sensible law. And the president is assuming that discrimination is bad, which he's not being honest, because there's positive discrimination, there's negative discrimination. Right now, if Trump wanted to run as the nominee for the DNC, Democratic National Committee, they would discriminate against him and say no. So positive discrimination is when you say no to someone based on principle or equity or justice, right? So to say that transgender children or people in general are being discriminated against, well, now that's become a politically correct way of saying it's bad. Well, we practice discrimination all the time. I can't go and take your paycheck that you've worked hard for and say, well, I want a right to cash it and use it. No, you ABC or whomever would discriminate against me because I haven't met the criteria, and obviously I'm not you. Mm-hmm. So we have to recapture these terms and say there is positive discrimination, there's negative, and it's positive discrimination to say we're not going to change the entire social structure because of a very small, minute percentage of people who can be accommodated, or just reaffirmed that we're going to honor the sex that you've been born with, that we can verify objectively, and allow you to work through the psychological issues that may be affecting not only your sense of identity, but also the way you're going to live out life in society, even if you choose not to necessarily become straight.
Great, thank you so much.
I appreciate
That's everything we need. Yeah, we'll maybe just get a
Just getting a shot of you guys
shot of us
talking.
for a second.
Yep.
So you're obviously, this is just, we're just getting a two shot now,
Sure.
but you're an Obama supporter, I'm assuming, because of all the, I noticed a lot of pictures.
Well, no, I mean, I support some things that he, you know, that he stands for. We come from it from a Christian perspective, and therefore we find that our support of the Republican and Democratic Party is always based on issues and not necessarily a wholesale endorsement of the platform. And I
Yeah.
believe that most Christians, especially evangelicals, are moving towards an independent mindset and really rallying behind candidates and people. I think this is the shift that's happening, especially young postmoderns like me, that, you know what, it's really about issues and not necessarily about endorsing the president wholesale. So there's things that I like about the president's policies and viewpoints, and there's things that I fundamentally disagree. And so I would say that we have more of an independent kingdom mindset, Christian mindset, that we will stand behind issues and not behind parties.
Right,
Yeah.
because there'll be some things you agree with and some things
Yeah.
you don't on both sides.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's interesting, Trump also said that he, you know, supports, I don't know if you heard that.
Yeah, but then he
transgender
recanted a little
music.
bit.
Well, yeah, that's what he does about it. It seems like everything,
Yeah.
you know. But so it'll be interesting to see the way it
Yeah.
plays out, you know.
Yeah. He definitely didn't have a thoughtful response, I think. But I think, you know, again, like I said, it's there's a lot of absurdity to this that it's almost like this is the slippery slope that conservatives said would happen, and it's happening. And conservatives are saying this is where we're going if we don't put some type of limits on sexuality and sexual expression being endorsed by the public square, right? And people say no, and here we are.
Yeah. Well, thank you
Okay,
for your
thank you.
time. I appreciate